Thank you. Good morning, everybody. After nearly a year and a half of fighting, the world is surprised to find that Hamas still controls Gaza. According to IDF data, Hamas has recruited large numbers of new fighters, most of them young, almost children. Hamas also controls the humanitarian aid across Gaza. The reason is this. No one in the current Israeli government has presented a realistic alternative. For political reasons, for religious, sometimes messianic reasons, the Netanyahu government failed to take steps to create effective governance in Gaza that will push Hamas out. The government doesn't want the Palestinian Authority because the most extreme elements in it are those that make the decisions. They can't create a coalition with the Saudis and the Gulf states because those countries won't enter Gaza without the Palestinian Authority. They didn't offer any other solution. They abandoned the basic principle when going to war. You don't go to war if you don't know what your day after policy is, if there isn't a clear end goal. The use of force by Israel after October 7th was inevitable. I supported it, I still do. But the use of force is not the goal. It is a tool to change reality. We need to get to a point where Gaza stops being a security threat to Israel and where it also stops being a hotbed of poverty, extremism, and religious hatred. At the same time, on our southern border, another scary problem is forming. The problem is looking no less serious to us. Egypt is in trouble. The Egyptian economy isn't managing to overcome an increasingly serious crisis. Egypt's population is growing nearly 2% a year. President al-Sisi needs to feed 120 million people. COVID and the war in Gaza destroyed the tourism industry, and terror is hurting the revenues from the Suez Canal. Egypt's external debt is more than $155 billion. Its ability to borrow money is fading away. If President al-Sisi can't subsidize pita bread for the poor in Egypt, if he can't pay the bills for the Egyptian military, his leadership is at risk. That is very bad news for us all. Egypt is a key strategic partner and a reliable ally for almost 50 years. A strong, moderate, pragmatic Sunni state, a crucial player in the region. President al-Sisi is a stabilizing force in the Middle East and in Africa. He is a longtime fighter against religious fanaticism. The strength, stability, and prosperity of Egypt is in everyone's interest. The alternative could be catastrophic. Egypt could fall again into the hands of the Muslim Brotherhood, or worse. That will create a domino effect. The entire Middle East will spiral into uncertainty. It happened before, it can happen again. I want to suggest a solution that addresses both these problems, and let me summarize them. Problem number one, after October 7th, the world needs a new solution for the Gaza Strip. And problem number two, Israel cannot agree to Hamas remaining in power. The Palestinian Authority is not willing or able to manage Gaza in the near future. Israeli occupation is neither desirable nor possible. A constant state of chaos is both a security threat and a humanitarian disaster. And the second basic problem, the Egyptian economy is on the brink of collapse, which threatens the stability of Egypt, the Middle East, and Africa. For an external debt, as I said, of $155 billion, does not allow Egypt to rebuild its economy and strengthen its military in the face of domestic challenges and security threats. There is one solution for both these problems. The solution is Egypt will take responsibility for the management of the Gaza Strip for 8 years with an option to extend to 15 years. At the same time, its foreign external debt will be paid off by the international community and regional allies. Egypt will lead a peace force in partnership with the Gulf states and the international community for the management and rebuilding of Gaza. During that period, the conditions for self-governance in Gaza will be created and the process of the total demilitarization of Gaza will be completed. Egypt will be the main player and oversee the rehabilitation, which will further strengthen its economy. This solution has historical basis. Egypt ruled Gaza for 8 years from 1948 to 1956, and once again for a decade from 1957 to 1967. It was done with the support of the Arab League and with the understanding that this was a temporary solution or situation, and the Egyptians held a guardianship of the Gaza Strip on behalf of the Palestinians. They didn't occupy Gaza. They kept it for the Palestinians. That's what needs to happen again today. It's worth noting the proposal doesn't contradict the idea presented by President Trump that the US and the international community will rebuild Gaza. Quite the opposite, it creates the conditions for rebuilding Gaza. Here is the organizing logic. Israel wants to hand over control of Gaza to an actor which isn't Hamas and has the ability to maintain security. Gaza cannot be rebuilt without a competent body overseeing the effort, which can also work with Israel and the security side, on the security side. Israel and Egypt have a deep and lasting strategic relationship supported by the United States. Egypt has an interest in the stability of Gaza and the region as a whole. Egypt wants to remove the idea of a population transfer from Gaza to Egypt. Egypt has an economic incentive which strengthens the government and helps feed the people of Gaza. So we can take these two problems and combine them into one solution. Here's the model I suggest. The current ceasefire will be completed until the final stage with all the hostages released and Israel remaining on the perimeter. Egypt will take control of the Gaza Strip through a UN Security Council resolution, including internal security and civilian affairs. The control will be framed as guardianship, with the objective being to hand Gaza to the Palestinian Authority during the 8 or 15 years following a process of reform and de-radicalization with measurable benchmarks. The rehabilitation process will begin. Egypt will oversee it. Implementation. The Saudis and the Abraham Accords countries will be partners. The United States will cooperate with Egypt with regards to investments in Gaza, known as the Trump Plan. Egypt will allow any Gazan who wishes to leave and have a destination to go to do so in an organized manner. Egypt will work to prevent arms smuggling into Gaza, destroy the tunnels and the remaining terror infrastructure in the Gaza Strip. An Egyptian, Israeli, American security mechanism will be created to tackle immediate security threats. The model doesn't rule out the return of the Palestinian Authority to Gaza, nor does it rule out that Egypt, together with the Saudis and the Abraham Accords countries, will look into a gradual integration of the Palestinian Authority in the management of Gaza. But that must be done in coordination with Israel and the United States and with a constant focus on Israel's security needs. It is worth mentioning that the current government is already allowing the Palestinian Authority into the Rafah crossing together with Egypt, but claiming that they are actually, quote unquote, Palestinian officials who are not Hamas. There is another name for Palestinian officials who are not Hamas. It's the Palestinian Authority. The demilitarization of Gaza is a basic condition for rehabilitating Gaza. The situation whereby a terrorist organization controls the territory and leaves it for others to manage the civilian affairs, like Hezbollah in Lebanon, is unacceptable. That is the model. And it isn't perfect. There is no perfect solution. But it answers the three big questions the region is asking. Who will manage Gaza? How do we ensure Gaza doesn't end hopes for normalization between Israel and the Saudis and the creation of an anti-Iran coalition? And how do we ensure the stability of Egypt and its continued role as a security partner and strategic ally? Thank you very much. I'm going there.
Okay, great.
I got your attention, right? Didn't I? Yeah. Saw that.
So we're going to have a chat, fireside. Someone's going to light up
Something.
set the stage on fire to provide some ambiance, and then we're going to open up to questions.